Once the hottest name in a loaded running back class, Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State seems to be cooling off a little bit. The question is, what is the right price? What's the right ADP to be taking Quinshon Judkins in your rookie drafts? We're going to get into that here by breaking down his tape, looking at the statistical profile, and we're going to finish by giving some actionable fantasy football advice. He has a pretty exciting career in terms of the college side of things, John. Ole Miss to Ohio State, breakout freshman to national champion. There's a lot to get into.
There is. And the last two national championship teams have each had a pair of backfield studs. Michigan had Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. And Ohio State this year, they might have even had a more dynamic duo. Actually, they were a more dynamic duo with Trevion Henderson, who we had recorded a show earlier. Go check it out on the Rookie Big Board. And now Quinshon Judkins, a consensus three-star recruit in 2022. He was number 18 overall prospect in Alabama. He was All-State honoree, Offensive Player of the Year, and he was selected to play in the prestigious Mississippi-Alabama All-Star game. But he was still kind of under the radar when he shows up at Mississippi. Like I said, he was a three-star recruit, not that elite five-star or a high four-star. He recorded consecutive 1,000-yard seasons for the Rebels. He started 19 games out of a total of 26, immediately made an impact on the field. As a true freshman, he established program single-season records for rushing yards with over 1,500. He was awesome that year. Watch some film, everyone. Rushing touchdowns with 16. He had 275 attempts. That's our school record. 100-yard rushing games with 8. Multi-touchdown games with 6. And total touchdowns 17. He was shooting up Debbie boards. I loved him in CFF leagues heading into his sophomore season. He bolted for 1,158 yards and 15 scores. And Matt, believe it or not, people were like a little disappointed, but that still was first team All-SEC, and he tied Deuce McAllister's program mark with 14 career 100-yard rushing games in 2 years. He ranked second at Mississippi in career rushing touchdowns, total touchdowns, and third in rushing yards. And Matt, he only played for 2 seasons. He decided to go to Ohio State, which is still kind of shocking because they did have Trevion Henderson on the roster. But while a Buckeye, he logged his third consecutive 1,000-yard season, and he earned 194 carries for 1,060 yards and 14 touchdowns. He added 33 catches for 161 yards and 2 scores. I really thought in the national championship game versus Notre Dame, Matt, he kind of illustrated his upside. He scored 3 times, 2 rushing, 1 receiving. He had 121 scrimmage yards on only 13 touches. And in the classroom, he was named second team All-Academic All-American. Matt, I do like him. This young man is very interesting. What do you say after you broke down the tape?
Yeah, I think the tape review here is going to be really interesting on Quinshon Judkins. You know, to set the stage a little bit, what we're going to see is somebody who does a lot of things well, right? And he's certainly not a perfect prospect. He's not a perfect runner, but there's a lot to like about Quinshon Judkins. All right, so let's take a look at exactly what Quinshon Judkins is doing well here. Right off the bat, you're going to see he's got good contact balance. He moves well laterally, but I think it's really his strength that helps lead his game. I feel like that's not talked about enough. Look at his ability to lower his shoulder, take on a Penn State linebacker, gain extra yards after first contact here. Not the fastest guy, but he does have some good burst, and he carries enough speed into the second level of the field to be successful at the next level. He's tenacious. He's scrappy. He fights for extra yards through the end of a run. And he has the ability to get off tackle. I actually think he tends to work a little bit better off tackle. I do struggle with his vision consistently between the tackles. But if you'll see here, big gaps, he's explosive, he's bursty, and he is able to get in and through them, which I think definitely serves him well. Sharp footwork. You'll see multiple examples of Quinshon Judkins turning upfield on a dime. And I think that kind of lends itself to pair well with his explosive upside. Good pass catcher as well. Again, not the best pass catcher in the draft, but certainly a well-rounded pass catcher. The reason that I have been lower on consensus than Quinshon Judkins, because I said right off the bat, John, at one point, he really was considered like the hottest running back in this class. And folks were ready to don him, running back one. I've always been a little bit lower than consensus because I do struggle with his vision. I think he can be indecisive behind the line of scrimmage. He can get caught hesitating too often. And it's something that served him well at Ohio State. It helps mask some of those flaws because he's running behind a really strong offensive line. So that doesn't mean that he can't be a good player at the next level. It just means we have to give more consideration to the offensive line and the landing spot that he ends up with. But I got to tell you, John, you don't need to give much more consideration for heading on over to patreon.com/rookiebigboard because we have league winning advice. If you want to win your rookie drafts, if you want to get ahead of your league mates, you need to get access to the Rookie Big Board, the 80+ profile articles already on the Rookie Big Board, our Dynasty and Devy rankings that are directly equivalent to our rookie rankings. You can go on right now and see where Quinshon Judkins ranks in the Dynasty rankings. Coming out very, very soon, we have our 2025 seasonal projections for every NFL player on every NFL team, and the rookies will slot right in there after draft weekend. 100+ page rookie guide. There is no better way to get ahead of your league mates in all of that for just $5 a month. Or you can save 15% off with that annual membership. I strongly encourage you, take advantage of that discount, get the annual membership, and get ahead of your league mates. So, John, we looked at the tape here, a lot to like, exciting background here. Let's dig into the stats. Maybe that helps explain this ebb and flow of value a little bit more.
We have to think about context, too, with this young man. He played in the SEC and Big Ten, Matt. And no matter what you think, which conference you like better, they're clearly the top two conferences in the nation. And there's not a lot of young men who can say they dominated and played extremely well at the highest level of football. He's also incredibly young. We have to consider that he's going to the NFL after 3 years, Matt. So that means in a loaded running back group, he got good messaging from the NFL and how they value him. So I do think the NFL likes this young man very much. He is a one-cut runner. He runs with power and patience. And I actually think he's got good lateral agility. You mentioned it. You think he's better off tackle. I do think he can get outside. I'm a little worried about his speed. Watching the tape, he gets caught from behind a lot. And the reason why I mention that, Matt, he averaged 5.1 yards per carry. That's a nice number. It's not like eye-popping, right? And he doesn't have that 70-yard, the 58-yard touchdowns on tape like other great runners, right? So you're not getting those high yards per carry. But it was against SEC and Big Ten opponents. So that's, it's a nice number. It's not terrific. It's 5'11", 219, Matt. His BMI is 29.3. I like that. I like 30, but that's so close. Maybe he has 2 cups of water and he gets it 30 when he gets weighed in at the combine. His scrimmage yards dominator is nice at 26%. I like that. 59 career receptions. I don't think people know that he's been pretty good. You mentioned it. He's good as a receiver. He's not great, but he's obviously adequate. And I don't usually mention this, but the PFF run grade, and I don't love every grade they do and everything like that, but they did give him an 88.6 on their run grade. So I do like this young man. I think NFL teams are going to like him a lot. Matt, I know you've been breaking him down even more for fantasy and dynasty. What should our viewers know?
Yeah, let's put it all together here, give you some actionable advice because that's what we are all about at the Rookie Big Board, helping you win your rookie drafts and helping you win those fantasy football championships. We've talked about this ebb and flow of value. I still think Quinshon Judkins will be a day 2 NFL draft selection, and so that does center his value for me. for a good comparison in terms of the value, the role that he can play on both an NFL team and your fantasy football roster, the player that he most closely lines up to in the dynasty rankings is J.K. Dobbins. And I think that's a really good example because Dobbins is a guy who can be the lead back in an offense, right? 35, 40, 45% of the market share. I think that's a realistic projection for Quinshon Judkins in the right spot. Judkins could also land in an offense where he is more of an efficient running back that has, 25 to 30% of the market share. So he could be more of a lead back. He could be a secondary back. But I think either way, he's not a 60% market share. He's not a 300 touch type runner. And that's okay, because you're not going to get those guys in your rookie drafts. For running backs, one or maybe two per year, right? But what you're going to get out of Quinshon Judkins is a weekly starter. And so for me, that's my tier where I put those back-end running back 2, high-end running back 3 type guys, right? He's the running back 20 on the week, running back 22 on the week. You need those guys in your lineup. And if you're drafting him in the late first round of a Superflex league, which I think is a realistic projection, I think you could do worse than add a rotational, a running back 2, a running back 3 to an already competitive fantasy football roster. I'm not going to go and get Quinshon Judkins in every draft. I don't want super high exposure to him, but I also don't want to leave my rookie drafts with no Quinshon Judkins, right? And so I'm putting him in my healthy exposure tier, 11 to 25%. If you really like him, push closer to that 25%. If you're not sold, get him in one league. Maybe get him in 2 leagues if you're playing in 20-25 leagues like some of us sickos out there, right? Get some Quinshon Judkins exposure. I think he's going to be a good NFL running back. I think he's going to be a good fantasy football running back. Maybe he doesn't have the biggest upside of this draft class, but there's certainly upside there. And if you want upside, John, you can just head on over to patreon.com/rookiebigboard. Get access to our rankings, the Rookie Big Board Discord for personalized advice, one-on-one draft consultation calls, so much good stuff available for just $5 a month. Whether you're watching or whether you're listening, the link to join our community will be in the episode description. From the FF Educator and the Gridiron Scholar, class is going to be in session all rookie draft season long, and we're going to be back real soon with another rookie profile.